Well, guys, welcome to this one-of-a-kind Fuddy Spoor episode. We're trying this two absolute nobodies when it comes to knowing stuff about computers, and at least we've got one guy here who knows a little bit about it. So let's see how this Fuddy Spoor episode goes. Thanks for joining us, guys. Hancke, nice to see you. Nice to see that everybody's doing okay. And I think the first thing is obviously we're not in the Safari and Outdoor, one of the mega stores as we wanted to record this whole season, but each of us sitting at home. Before we introduce Bryan, Hancke, just a quick update. How is business going? What is Safari Outdoor doing in this time? I see you guys have a couple of specials running once a week. How's it going at the shops?
Yeah, Stefan, everybody's sitting in lockdown, having time to drink a nice Castle Light, talking to you guys. It's the first time we're doing it like this, but we have to. Sorry, there's no other way. Safari and Outdoors online is open. The longer we're in the lockdown, the more inquiries we get the whole time about stuff that we have in there. Everybody can find out anything on info@so.co.za. So anything you want to know, you can find there. And then there's a couple of specials running, as you say, which is nice. And you know, we're setting that the exchange rate changed so much in the last couple of weeks that it's most probably a better thing buying now than it is waiting.
Yeah.
And then buy, because the next couple of weeks and months, I think the prices are going to go up. But further on, Safari and Outdoor, everything good, everything running nice, and we can just not wait to open up.
Yeah, no, I think it's. I think everybody's waiting for that. You know, that moment when most of what we can experience as normal can go back to normal.
No, definitely. And as I said, I think the day that we open up, there will be a huge bash in Safari and Outdoor. I think we will have a nice party going. So looking forward. Yeah.
So let's quickly introduce our guest, Mr. B, as we know him, yes. Bryan Betton. He's joining us also from his home in Pretoria. Bryan, thanks for joining us on the show this evening.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Hancke. It's an absolute privilege to be able to chat to you guys today.
Yeah, Bryan.
From the comfort of our own homes.
Yeah, Bryan is from. Sorry, we're gonna have to try and get this interruptions under control. But Bryan is the sole agent and importer for Woodleigh Bullets in South Africa, the Australian manufactured bullets that is known worldwide and used on all types of game, but then obviously extensively on big game and dangerous game. So Bryan, I think we all know the brand. We love the brand. We use the brand. We wear the brand. But I think for tonight's discussion, me and Hancke would really like to focus a little bit on the Hydro. So if you can maybe just explain to some of our viewers that doesn't know the brand just quickly in a nutshell, and then obviously elaborate a little bit on the Hydro.
Thanks, Hancke. So the Hydro is essentially marketed as a hybrid between a soft nose bullet and a solid. It's a monometal bullet. It is reasonably new to the Woodleigh range. I think it's been on the market for a couple of years now. And the more that people start to understand it and the more they know about it, the greater the popularity it has gained. As I said earlier, the trick behind the Hydro is that you are able to get the straight line penetration that a hunter wants from a solid, with the terminal so damage that a soft nose bullet would give you. So it's basically a hybrid. It's a one Safari bullet, and specifically aimed at shooting, you know, dangerous game. Although they start manufacturing it from 7mm all the way up. The technology behind the Hydro, and I'm going to show you an example, is really the cup that it has in the front. And here's just a good look at it. I mean, this is what it looks like unloaded. It's got this cap on the front, which is just for ballistic coefficients as well as for feeding. But it's got these driving bands, specifically that if you look at these driving bands, you know, monometals are known for huge spikes in pressure. These driving bands allow for the decrease in the pressure, which also makes them very safe to shoot in the older doubles and you know, your older type rifles, so that you're not spiking with pressures or worrying about that. So here you've got a monometal that's going to penetrate like a conventional solid. It's not going to deviate. But then you have the cup effect on the front that cavitates and creates a wound channel that basically displaces the matter in front of it. So you've got the straight line, and then you've got something that bleeds because you've got a big hole in it. And the trauma that it creates is significant.
Yeah, and we want to touch on that a little bit later. We have some examples that we've experienced ourselves. I just want to quickly ask, there was a massive testing of these bullets before they hit the shelves by Jeff himself. I mean, can you just explain a little bit about, you know, what they did? They hunted quite a number of animals, am I right?
So the Hydra was developed by a guy by the name of John Marazzi. John is a metallurgical engineer. So there's a lot of science that goes into the development of this bullet. So he basically went to Jeff and said, you know, let's test this. So they went up to the Northern Territories in Australia and shot heaps of buffalo and tested every single one, made sure that the pressures are right in the firearms in the heat. You know, what are the wound channels like in the various different animals that they shot? And then obviously the major test was to bring it over to Africa and see what it would do on the really thick-skinned game, like your elephants, hippos, those types of animals. And it was brought over here and really, really performed well. So the joys about this, and specifically the Woodleigh brand, is that it's developed by hunters for hunters and really tested in the field and tested significantly and properly.
Stefan? Stefan?
Yes, Hancke.
We all tried this. We shot it, I shot it, you shot it. We shot at different kinds. One thing what Bryan says that's really nice for me is that, for argument's sake, in my 450-400 that I'm using it in, and that you use to shoot a giraffe with, is that my load that I load with Hornady bullets is exactly the same as what I use for the Hydra. It's 83.5 grains, and both of them, they shoot exactly the same speed and they regulate exactly on the same place. So it's exactly what Bryan says, is there's no pressure in this thing, nothing at all. It works like a normal bullet. It just punches a little bit above its weight though. It penetrates better and makes a better wound channel, but it makes a 450-400 kind of a little bit of a bigger caliber, because it penetrates better with it just punches a little bit above its weight category the whole time. You had a hunt that you did with Ronald Nell, I think in the Caprivi, that you used it on buffalo.
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I made a mistake with my first shot. I used the 450 nitro and I placed the bullet too far forward, and then we only caught up to that buffalo hours later, almost 25 kilometers later. And when we caught up to it, it was in an open flat, and I had to take a longer shot. So I borrowed Ronald's rifle that was fitted with an RMR, and obviously he loaded the Woodleigh Hydros. He also used his 450-400 in his Vernicaron, loaded with the 400 grain Woodleighs. I think they travel at 2.2, if I'm not mistaken. And I took that shot on that buffalo at almost 100. It was over 90 meters. It was almost 100 meters, and it flew straight through. And immediately took a follow-up shot when it was open and clear, and that bullet also went through. And the first bullet actually hit the buffalo on this big shoulder here, and it just passed straight through the vitals, and you could see the dust cloud at the back. So that was my first real experience, you know, on dangerous game with the Hydros. Although it was a far shot, it still performed flawlessly, you know, and and it put that buffalo down, I mean, within a couple of paces. And then the next morning, Ronald got the opportunity at an old bull. He took the shot at about, I would reckon, between 30 and 40 meters. The buffalo was walking in the river. He was walking in the water, and as he hit him high on the shoulders. It was only because he was shooting down over the edge of the river. He had to place the shot high. It also flew through, and you could immediately hear that buffalo moaning and groaning. So obviously, you know, it wasn't just a solid, you know, punching a hole through him. It had a devastating effect. And as it got out, he gave him another shot also through this big shoulder bone, and the buffalo was down within a couple of meters. Exactly like you think in your head a soft should perform on a body shot on an animal, but the penetration is just something else.
We are all very looking forward and using it more, because I really think this is the solution. I really think this is the solution. We're always sitting with a problem in Cameroon, walking in the rainforest, that I would love to have a solid in my gun because of those forest elephant, and they're so aggressive in there. But then you kind of like a soft as well, because those forest buffalo, they're so close and that you kind of think a soft will work better on it, because you got a big wind channel and maybe a more energy transferred and that kind of stuff. And we're always sitting with that thing as, what do I actually load now? I think this is kind of the solution. This is the thing here to say, if you wonder which one of the two to use, there's this thing you can use for all of that. I mean, talking about using that on the giraffe hunt that we were on with Marco, me and you and Marco, that we did, and you used the 450 with the hydras. I mean, when it was down and you shot in the chest, the length of the giraffe couldn't even keep the bullet.
Yeah.
So it is definitely, it's wonderful penetration with just a bigger wound channel, and that's exactly what you're looking for.
I want to stop at that wound channel, but Brian, I would just like to ask you first, if you can pull up that graph, that article we had in our Game and Hunt magazine, and just briefly explain to us how that cup and that radius works in transferring that energy into a bigger, you know, area.
Sure thing. Give me a second. So I mean, if you look at the article in the latest Game and Hunt, you'll see this diagram that I have over here. Let me just make it a bit bigger for you. How's that? Can you see it okay?
Yes, perfect.
So I mean, what it does is it basically illustrates this cup effect and the cavitation that creates this permanent wound channel by means of this cup in the front. So what that cup is, remember this bullet spinning, the cup basically displaces everything in front of it, creates this vortex, this pressuring, and it has this permanent wound channel that allows for your quarry to, you know, for that trauma and for it to bleed.
Yeah, and I mean that just shows you. I mean, it's performing exactly like you want a soft to perform.
Exactly. But Stefan, on that note, and I believe that it's very important to choose the right bullet for the situation you're in. Over penetration is almost virtually guaranteed.
Yeah.
So when you're in the delta, shooting in these massive herds of buffalo, and you may be presented with the shot that you're going to be shooting into the herd. You know, this is not the right bullet to use.
No.
You want a soft that's going to stop underneath the skin on the other side. You know, but for normal general hunting conditions where you know what's behind the target, you know, this is definitely something to consider, because you have the straight line penetration with that wound channel.
Yeah, and Hancke, you said it on that giraffe that we shot after it was down. It flew straight through, eh?
Yeah, I had a shot on a buffalo running away with a 454 and it with hydros in. And as it ran away, I shot right in the rump, you know, right in the rump, and it actually exited just where the neck joins the body. So I don't know, and I asked you the question on that video when we used to actually stop this. You'll have to shoot elephant to stop this bullet, I think. I don't think you're going to stop it otherwise. So over-penetration is a concern. But then what we're always looking for is penetration. So we're chasing penetration. Now we've got the solution. It's maybe a little bit too much, but it's better than too less or too little.
Yeah.
And you got a wind chill. James Canberman, our friend, shot on his farm a couple of weeks ago. He shot or 2 weeks ago, he shot a big eland bull with a 450-400 with hydros in. And it was just a shoulder shot, but that thing just fly through. I mean, what you can see on the wound on the other side, it's bigger than the entrance wound. So I'm not sure exactly how it works, but every time I saw the exit wound is bigger than the entry. Yeah. So it even makes a bigger hole when it goes out.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. We touched on that giraffe we shot the beginning of the year where Marco joined us, and afterwards with the meat processing guys being there and obviously taking care of the meat for us and so forth. When they cut off the shoulder, and I have a picture of this, I'll send it to the guys editing this video and try and put it up there. You can see on that picture that there is. I tried to measure it. It was almost like the size of a car steering wheel. I mean, it was more than a foot in diameter. Hancke, you were there. That this trauma, and this was on the opposite side. So this is where we caught that bullet, actually, in that big shoulder bone. So it was a shot at 75 meters. It had a devastating effect. It flew straight through all the vitals, but then it got lodged in that big shoulder bone at the end. And what I wanted to touch on is that big trauma mass. That channel was from the entry side all the way to where we caught it, and it was I mean 30, 40 centimeters in diameter. And that opened my eyes. And there I realized, because I saw it there, it was lying down there, and I saw the amount of damage a solid bullet made, So I'm definitely in my 375. I already chatted to Bryan. My order is on the way. I'm definitely in my 375 and in my 500. I'm going to use these bullets not only for dangerous game hunting, for normal plains game hunting as well, definitely for the next year or two. And giving you some extensive feedback, Bryan.
I think we're all looking forward and shooting it more, and getting back on this kind of format and discuss it a bit more. But as far as I'm concerned, I really think this is the solution.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, thank you, Mr. B. Hancke, thanks for joining on this Zoom meeting. If I knew 3 weeks ago what I knew now, I would have bought some shares in Zoom, definitely. But yeah, thanks for joining me, and I'm sure we'll do the same thing next week, Hancke. We'll phone a couple of guys and check who's available for interview, and we'll see you guys next week, Thursday. Thanks for joining in, and stay safe.
Ek weet nou nie meer af te sit nie.